Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm doing a review of Brian G. Berry's Get Off My Plane. So, I have a few things to say about this one. It's the best Brian G. Berry book I've ever read, and in my top 5 favourite books of all time. This is definitely up there as being either the best or second best book I've read this year. I loved this book. This was fantastic. So I'm gonna just start by focusing on the cover art. So this cover art is fucking fantastic. It actually does represent a scene in the novel. I'm not gonna tell you any spoilers, but all I can really say is if there was one Brian G. Berry book that you have to read, it's this one. Until I read it, I had no clue that this was the novel that I'd been wanting to read my entire life. I've always looked for a novel that's like an action film, so I went to thrillers, but those thrillers were more mysteries about detectives solving murders and little twists and all that. And I was never really into those. They were more like Law and Order type shows. Although I do enjoy that show, I do enjoy Law and Order. It just wasn't what I was looking for. However, Get Off My Plane delivered everything that I wanted. It was a complete and total bloodbath, fucking whatever. It was fantastic the entire way through. There was not one part of this book that I didn't like. It was cheesy, it was violent, it was action-packed, and it was entertaining as all shit. I mean, this book had everything in it. Everything that you could possibly want from a Brian G. Berry book, it's in here. And I have to say this is definitely the best Brian G. Berry book I've ever read. So pretty much this story revolves around the character Cole Steele. I love him as a character. He is definitely the best Brian Berry character I've read about so far. Cole Steele, he is like this veteran, and he's on a plane. He's a flight attendant, and little does the other passengers and him know that there's a ton of terrorists on the on the aircraft planning to take over until the president gives back their hostage. So immediately the stakes are high, and the book is set to span across 250 pages. This is one of Brian Berry's longest books. It's the longest book of his I've read, and for some reason, the longer the book, the better. That's the way I've always seen it. In any form of media, there's this weird correlation of longer being great. I think it goes back to like, if something's big, then it's epic, and this novel is definitely great. This is an actual novel, and I enjoyed the fuck out of this. This was pure Brian Berry action, and I really want more books like this, even if they're just standalones, because first off, I want to say the font for Get Off My Plane is fucking brilliant. I love that font so much. It looks so good, and the color scheme of the artwork sorry, the color scheme of the artwork is great. I would say this is his most 80s cover. I definitely was like, if Brian Berry had this weird pseudonym where he wrote books from the 80s and like said they were from the 80s, you could definitely believe that, because these books feel straight out of the 80s. But this one was totally different. This one had a lot of really good, unique stuff in it that Brian Berry doesn't typically put into his stories. I could tell that he really, really cared about this one. I found it very interesting how there was a little bit of a romantic element, although it was not a romance book by far, no way. This was pure action, and this is probably one of his most violent books in my opinion, or at least that I've read of Brian's books. I can't get over this cover, it's great, but this was definitely one of his most violent books. There was a scene around halfway through that involves a baby, and that's all I'm gonna say. If you want to read this, go in with an extremely strong stomach and with a few machine guns and a vomit bag, because this is gnarlier and more disturbing than most extreme horror because it actually had a story. I really, really enjoyed this. This book had everything that you could possibly want in a novel. There was a very, very tense scene towards the end, which involved, I'm not going to give it away, but it kind of involved a hostage situation. If you've read it, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I thought that was probably one of the greatest scenes that Brian has ever written, because you really, after a while, you started to feel for these characters and you hoped that they survived. I'm not going to give anything away. I'm going to let you guys read it for yourself. But man, this book was purely entertaining. I loved how Cole Steele had little one-liners throughout. It was seriously just so much cheesy fun. And again, Brian Berry delivered with the descriptions of gore. I really, really enjoyed, I do enjoy the way he writes gore. He writes it better than any other author. And he also writes insanely entertaining books. I mean, if you want to go into a book and just want to be entertained for a couple of hours, Brian Berry is your go-to guy. And this one, if this is the only Brian G. Berry book that you want to read it, because this is worth it. This is worth every single second, and I loved it. It was very, very disturbing in sections. It was very thought-provoking. There was so much to it. I really was so surprised at the way this was written. The characters, I really have to put an emphasis on the characters, because these characters were great. Although the book is insanely cheesy and just fun, like a good old 80s action film, this book had a lot of heartfelt moments in it, and I enjoyed those parts. This is probably the best Brian G. Berry, well, definitely is the best Brian G. Berry book I've read so far. And if you can get your hands on it, even just a Kindle version, please read it. I seriously think that if you're interested in cheesy 80s fun that can get your mind off of just life's bullshit, you'll enjoy this. I really do like this cover though. I like the little detail of the guy down there, because it kind of looks like his intestines are tentacles, which looks cool. I really don't know what else to say without spoiling the book, so if you don't want spoilers, then click off. But yeah, so the hostage part was very, 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 very captivating, and I was fucking holding my breath throughout the entire scene. I was like, holy shit. And that section with the baby, I am gonna spoil it here, so if you still have not clicked off, then I highly suggest you do, because it's much better as a surprise. The scene with the baby where the terrorist just tears the baby in half, holy fucking shit, I had no clue that Brian would actually go there, I was like, oh no, there's a baby, please don't hurt the baby. And then the baby was like, the baby just fucking got torn in half. That shit was brutal. Oh man, I can, it's like one of those books where it's like, you can never get that image out of your head, you can't erase it. And that's not a negative, because that shit actually did stay with me, and I enjoyed that, because, I'm gonna move on, because that shit actually did disturb me. But that's a good thing. It means Brian wrote a scene very effectively, and when the terrorists died, it was really, 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 what would you call it? Very satisfying. You felt happy that these bastards were dying. And honestly, I think this has the potential of being Brian G. Berry's greatest novel of all time. I would definitely say it's one of his best. I mean, his very best. And yeah. So, if you're interested in 80s action with a lot of gore, a lot of entertainment, and some pretty good character development, please read this, because this book had everything you could possibly want in it. It was purely just entertainment, and I loved it. So yeah, if you've read it, please let me know what you think, because I really did enjoy this one. I'm gonna come back with another review fairly soon, so yeah, stay tuned, and I'll see you guys then.